Hi, this is Karen from Stamping Stuff. I'm here today with another card for you. This time I'm doing some ink blending and a little bit of Copic colouring. So the distress inks I'm using today are Cracked Pistachio, Blueprint Sketch and Peacock Feathers. I'm using a Copic friendly ink, the Smoke ink from Simon Says Stamp, the wonky stitched rectangle stacks from My Favourite Things, just the smallest of the rectangles, and a new to me stamp set, Polar Bear Pals from My Favourite Things. I'm also using the Strathmore Bristol Smooth cardstock to do my ink blending. I find this is really nice to blend ink on. So to start the ink blending, I'll start with the lightest colour, which is Cracked Pistachio. So I'll get a good lot of ink on my blending foam and I will take that to the cardstock. So I'm starting slightly off the cardstock, putting quite a bit of pressure on. I'm not too concerned about any splodges that are left because it blends out with a bit of going over with the blending foam, so you don't have to worry too much about any splodges of ink, those circles that you get sometimes with when you go too heavy with the ink. Don't have to worry about that with this cardstock. So you just keep going over and over until you're happy with the colour that you've got. So I've sped this up now a little bit so you can see how easily it does go onto the card. And then I'll get my second colour, which is Peacock Feathers. Now when you go to join the two colours, you go over slightly the pistachio colour with the Peacock Feathers and blend out, and then you get the pistachio foam and go back over the Peacock Feathers colour. And you just keep doing that until you get a nice blend of inks and you can't see any solid lines. So I'm going to play a little bit of music now while you watch the ink blending process. You'll see I go backwards and forwards a few times with the different colours, and at the end I actually add some more of the cracked pistachio because I didn't think it was quite dark enough. So once I got the blending to a point where I was happy with it, I decided to spit some water over it. So I sprayed a bit of water in my hand and then flicked my fingers over top of the panel until I was happy with the water droplets. I left them sitting for a few seconds and then I placed a paper towel over the top to get up the excess moisture and dry the cardstock. So at that point I got the smallest of the wonky stitched rectangles and I die cut 3 rectangles, trying to keep the top and bottom ones with a bit of both colours, so there's a bit of an ombre look there. So I took a scrap of paper to stamp my polar bear on, and what I do the first time I actually use a clear stamp is I actually rub it on the palm of my hand, and that helps it to ink up and stamp a bit better. So I used my MISTI to stamp the image, and then it was time to start on the Copic colouring. I used 3 T family colour markers for the polar bear and just a simple 2-colour blend for each of the colours I used on his scarf. After I'd finished colouring the polar bear, I went in with my Zero Colourless blender to try and give a more seamless blend between the shading and the white of the cardstock. Once I'd finished the Copic colouring, I used the coordinating die to cut the polar bear out, and then got my Neenah Solar White 110 pound card base and positioned all the elements where I wanted them to sit. The sentiment was stamped on the bottom of the rectangles using some Simon Says Stamp Smoke ink. Because my eyes just ain't what they used to be, I actually used my T-square ruler to make sure that the three rectangles were actually even down the side of the card base. From that point it was pretty much a matter of just gluing everything into place. So I glued the three rectangles down, and then I coloured this bear's scarf with my Spectrum Noir clear sparkle pen and used some foam tape to pop him up off the card base, and I spent an inordinate amount of time working out where to position him, but in the end I sort of wrapped him a little bit around the sentiment, so that his scarf was sitting just above the hello, and I thought that was a better placement. So that's the end of the card. I've got a shot of the Copics I used coming up, and I'd like to thank you for watching. See you next time.